Yeah,
I've
get
had an
my
almost
chair.
morbid fascination with anything and everything paranormal. Especially
around,
those
you're gonna
things
sit over
that
there.
venture into the darkest recesses
That what?
of primal fears.
Well, I guess
Spark the
I'll sit
thoughts
over there
that
till Jason comes
most
to the
We're going to
lead
adjust
stuff
for it
with
later.
nightmares. In 2007, this fascination, along with unexplainable experiences, led me to start a paranormal research team known today as Everyday Legacy
I
Paranormal.
thought he was going to make two, actually.
And in 2011, the road trip led myself and a close friend into the
Oh.
darkest places we had ever
How we
been.
doing tonight?
That was the beginning of
I
road
think you
trip.
guys have some lady that writes books or something.
Now,
coming
while
on.
still active with them, I no longer lead either of those.
That's why I figured I'd bring my
teams.
Cheetos with me
Maybe
while y'all
my
talk.
best friend, a guy like me, could
I'd be
ask.
like,
Myself, along with Jason,
no shit. Then Jeremiah's gonna say his thing. I'll grab a
Leo,
Skittle.
Skittles?
701.
My wife ate them.
Rose, and Michelle are reaching out to share our passions for everything odd, fringe, and paranormal with the world. We
I
are
hate that he's got our
Yeah.
fire. It used to not be like that.
Get my headphones.
Okay, we're going live.
We are live. I see it. Hello, everybody.
Whoop whoop. How's it going?
Good Sunday to you.
Yeah, my camera is frozen again.
Why?
Gummit. Seriously?
Good shot at me.
I think
With the salty
I like
language. He said dadgummit.
it. Dadgum.
He's with that.
Dad
He's with
gummit.
the setup talk.
I'm a Texan. I can't help it.
We forgot to put our pimp juice up there.
No, we. Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know where it's at.
What you said?
Should be right in that drawer if Jeremiah wants to reach over and grab it.
Well, it's not like they can see me do anything right now because my camera's frozen. So sure.
Other drawer. To your left. Sorry.
Here.
Left.
The other
Other
left.
All the way.
left.
All the way.
Remember, he's Texan. The other left.
They say they can't
Well,
hear
everything
us.
else you keep from this thing, you keep in this drawer.
As
So.
much as true, I went the same way.
Can you hear us, everybody? Sorry, we're kind of like falling into place
We're
slowly.
We've been set up for like 25 minutes, and
Yeah.
this is pathetic for us to get off to this kind of start when we've been set up for so
Whoa,
long.
this week, I just got here.
That's true. He just got here.
See, I'm still setting up.
Hey, Jim, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
I knew it.
Can you hear
Well,
me
look,
now?
Tammy says she can't hear us.
Say what?
Tammy says she can't hear us.
Really? It should have sound going out.
I'll run and check real quick.
Jim hasn't said anything either, so hopefully he can hear us. Jim.
Hello, hello.
I guess I couldn't put my headphones on.
Wait till they answer
Technical
you back.
difficulties.
You really should yourself.
Come on, guys. Dead air. Dead air.
Good morning.
I can
Good
hear.
evening, everybody.
Good morning. What? This
Sorry.
is on, I don't know, some other time. South American time, apparently.
Hey, did you guys see the Chiefs won?
Who?
Go Chiefs. Undefeated.
Undefeated, baby. Championship.
Undefeated, all right.
Championship. You know, they're predicting Kansas City and New Orleans Saints going to the
No, I don't want to hear
going
it
to the
already.
Super Bowl.
Whatever.
No, seriously.
Kansas City
No.
chokes, man. I own them.
So,
They're my buddies. But, no. Good evening, everybody. We're sitting here trying to get everything put together. I don't know if anybody's heard. Have you guys seen all these new sightings coming out of North Carolina, UFO sightings?
no,
They're even on TV. CNN's been publicizing them. And,
I
yeah,
have not.
it's crazy.
Okay.
Coming out of where?
Hold on, before we get into that.
North Carolina.
First of all, this is episode.
Now he wants to talk.
This is episode 58,
Episode 58.
I believe, and this is Cryptic Heartland Podcast. Tonight we have a special guest calling in soon. Her name is Marie D. Jones. She's an author, a producer, a very, very smart individual, and we're gonna pick her brain apart, hopefully.
Yeah.
Got some good questions coming up for her, I hope. And also, too, people at home, make sure you like, subscribe, and get notified every time this page goes live. The motto I always say is tell your friends, tell your girlfriend, tell your mistresses, tell somebody, tell a
Yeah.
stranger. Tell them about us, man. We're here for you guys, for your entertainment, so that's what we do. We're trying to make sure we got all the sound up and running 100%. So if you don't hear the sound or something's messing up on our other end, please let us know. Otherwise, This is Cryptic Heartland.
Cryptic
And
Heartland.
now go back to your talk about North Carolina.
I apologize.
I
Well, you know,
apologize,
one
too.
thing I'm really excited about tonight is
What?
that we're going to have a special guest on.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I've heard a lot about her, and I'm really excited that we're going to have somebody, you know, with the knowledge that I have. And
Yeah.
You have
so lost sitting here all the time.
Wow.
You know, I
That's
just
all I
really-
can say
you
is
know,
wow.
right? Right?
Well, I'm glad. Are you an author as well? Have you produced as many books as she has?
No.
No.
I haven't even read any of these books she's written.
I've never produced my actual book.
No,
but
no.
I do have a lot written. I'm just scared. I'm nervous to
Oh,
just
Lord.
let somebody else read them.
You got your own autobiography out there too.
Yep.
You know? Yeah, cool. Awesome.
What the hell does that do with North Carolina?
Oh yeah, back to
North
the
Carolina.
back to the UFO
No.
stuff.
I believe it's Charlotte though. They've had several UFO sightings. The pictures look amazing that I've seen on television, and yeah, kind of cool.
We'll have
They're
to get
square,
Jeremiah pulled
kind of
those
a
up
square-shaped light phenomenon in the air. But there's some really good, clean photos of it. Kind of strange.
Square shaped?
Square shaped, yeah.
I've never seen any square shaped.
But the lights are square. I didn't see the
Oh, okay.
So when were these reportedly seen?
that would have been a week ago Monday in Charlotte, and then there was actual photos taken like 3 weeks prior to that as well.
Okay. Let me
So-
ask you this. This
Yeah.
is just throwing this out there. I'm not saying I believe in this or this is the cause or anything.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, we had Allie Webb on the program,
Yeah.
and she's with the whole Bigfoot juice right there. And they're going to do they're getting ready to do the Bigfoot conference coming up. There's been some correlation with Bigfoot and aliens, possibly UFOs.
Yes.
They go kind of not really hand in hand, but there's been a lot of reported sightings. Hell, we've been in a location where we've had Bigfoot and UFOs together. This is the Bigfoot conference they're going to do down there is in North Carolina itself. Is there any possibility that these sightings are directly related somehow?
Bigfoot
I'm just
related?
throwing it out
They-
there.
they could
I'm not
be.
saying it is or
I mean,
isn't.
I've seen the cartoon renditions of grays in zip up suits as
Right.
well. I mean, you don't know.
I was just curious.
I mean, that's kind of
cool.
cool to think though. I mean, grays are some of them are perceived to be pretty tall, so they could be a Bigfoot.
I'd have text her while we're on the show and see if she has any information
On the
that.
UFO sightings?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
because she's probably seen a
So
lot
did
more
people
than
see him crossing the road
the
like
UFOs
they
or
do
Bigfoot?
the Bigfoots?
I don't think the UFO would walk across the street, but I mean, it would be kind of cool if they did.
Okay.
Metallic Denton. No, it was flying in the air. I apologize.
I'm gonna text her right now and find out if she maybe her team has
Yeah,
had something to do with it.
That'd be neat to see.
I'm just curious. I think that's not coming up till I think it's next weekend when the actual North Carolina Bigfooting conference is down there. The through Bigfoot 911.
Right.
I know they've been getting a lot of flack down there already. A lot of
Because of
people
the conference?
because of what it is and what it's about. Which we kind of when we talked to her behind the scenes, she kind of made mention of that with some close friends of hers being involved so close to it and things of that nature. It's a small town, and they word gets out pretty quick. If hey, that person on the street's talking about this or mentioning that, and it's not like they're really getting some pushback already. So
That's messed up.
it's interesting to think. I mean, that people are. I'm not saying to believe everything you hear or see or that's out there. I mean, but it's okay to have an open mind.
You got to
know?
be open-minded. Yeah.
I mean,
You can't be blindsided to everything. You got to have a little bit of vision.
right.
Well, I think it was focused more on just having fun.
Yeah.
A good family fun time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So whether you believe or don't, I mean, go have a good time.
Go trek the
Exactly.
woods with your family. Enjoy yourselves. and
Exactly.
You see
Because it's not-
Bigfoot. Hey.
It's not
Plus,
just
plus.
Bigfoot. I mean, they're doing a 5K race in the morning. They're doing just, jump. What do you call those? Blow up jumpables, or what do they call them?
Mm-hmm.
Those things. They're like they're soft things, and just trying to do a good.
Yeah, they're
do a
even
good fun
doing
thing.
Sasquatch calling.
Yeah,
aren't
that's
they?
right.
No.
So,
Yep.
It's
That's
all
what's
in
called?
fun. I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
have a good time. Don't. These are critical.
Well,
Right.
Roswell has their yearly annual events with the, you know, the Grays walking around. Everybody's in their gray outfits, and yeah, you know, it's the same thing. But yeah, it's kind of cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I was trying to see when that was. I think it might have been this past weekend, actually. This weekend, like yesterday. I was trying to look it up real fast. I apologize. I know we did talk to her, and she sounded like she was going to come back on and talk about how everything went, and just I would love to pick her brain apart about the whole, hey, how'd it go? You know,
Right.
What kind of rushback did you have? You know, or pushback, and because you know we get it in our field when we try to do things with paranormal. I mean, but you also get we get it from some of the businesses we venture out to and try to talk to and say, hey, can we come investigate? We heard this place is haunted. Can we come and investigate? Oh, it's not haunted. You know, it's no,
Right.
we don't do that here. Sorry, and it's just like okay. But once we've had places like that, but once they see what we can do and how we do it, after a while they seem to be open to it. Because I mean, it is a good time for the public. It's just another event for somebody to do, you
Yeah.
know, and it sells out usually every time we do something. So pretty interesting stuff. But yeah, no, I just thought about that when you talked about North Carolina
Yeah, and that's
sightings.
true,
I was
too,
just like,
you know.
what are the odds? I mean, because they do see a lot of the sightings together, and I mean, even back in the ancient times with the Native Americans and just in general, like even the old hieroglyphics on the pictures in the caves they found.
Yeah.
They would show the same thing: Bigfoot, big hairy creature walking, bipedal upright, and then you would see
Switch.
some UFOs and stuff.
Now, how
So-
far out? How far
you're
are they
not-
from Charlotte? Do you know?
For Marion,
Location, yeah.
I don't know. I'll look real quick because I don't know 100% because Marion's so small. She said, but I know it was a Charlotte Observer that. Hang on a second, let me scoot over just a bit.
Sure.
I know the Charlotte Observer is the one that
Let's
did
get
the
up and
interview
just
with her,
Oh, okay,
and they
good.
put her on the map. So,
I can't
I
get
bet they're
the
pretty
chair.
close then.
yep. So
Hey, Jace, how you doing, sir?
we got a
Part-time
Bigfoot sighting, or a Littlefoot sighting. Jason decided to grace us with his presence.
I don't know if you've
So-
been on any media as of late, but I was talking about the North Carolina UFO sightings out in Charlotte. I don't know if you've seen any of that.
I haven't this
You
week.
come in more today. Sorry. Keep talking.
I have not.
Yeah, okay. There's several good pictures. It's on CNN. It's been on, of course, Coast to Coast. I listen to it every night on the way to work, morning. And yeah, pretty good sighting, pretty good photos of it.
That's
Kind of
good.
square-shaped lights. Weird square, but yeah,
Square?
square. Yeah.
You?
Yeah, you
Okay.
getting that?
Yeah, we had a little bit of feedback on our can, so apologize, or maybe on the oversound. So Jeremiah's still adjusting some things real quick here.
Maybe
People
that's
already-
something new for the year 19.
Did we have a time she was gonna call in, or we were gonna call her in?
I'm calling her.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Whenever we're ready, let's get her in.
Well, do you want to?
By the way,
You guys go ahead and keep talking.
yeah, I am. By the way, Marion and Charlotte's about an hour and 43 away from each other.
Okay.
So it's close, within 2 hours, but once again, it's clear up in the upper left, looks like, North Carolina. But
Aaron's throwing angry faces at us. That's rude, Aaron.
Aaron,
I know. She
Oh,
she
no.
fat thumbed it.
You want this, sir?
Dang it, I totally forgot.
do you need headphones?
Huh, yeah, I totally did not come prepared.
You want to use these ones? I got extra ones.
Here you go.
Okay, here we go.
There you go. No, you can see these here.
You sure?
Yeah, I got
Okay.
my iPhone.
Sorry. I'm all a mess today.
I am too.
Hello.
Hello, how are you tonight?
I am good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. We've had a few technical difficulties, so we had to just call and bring you right straight live on.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
it's those demons again. I tell you.
You know it
Every
is.
time.
We every time some of that stuff comes up on the show, we have technical troubles. It seems like. So anyway,
Yep.
so we have live on the phone with us author Marie D. Jones. She comes to us from California. And she has written several books on several different topics, and a good number of them are paranormal related. I remember one of the very first paranormal books I ever read was your book, Science.
Oh yeah.
I love that book.
I do too. If I may say so myself.
Yeah. So, how have things been going for you? I mean, it's been a while since we visited, several years actually. But
Oh gosh, isn't it weird how quickly time is going by? It honestly, I know everybody says that, but it just feels like I can't get anything done, and before I look up, it's 5 o'clock, and oh my god. Anyway, just writing and writing. A lot of
Right,
writing.
right.
You've got a lot of.
I don't know why. I feel like I have to get so much done. I don't know, before the world ends or something. The apocalypse is like, well, I want to try to beat Nick Redfern and at least have half as many books out as he does. But I'm just getting into film and TV, which is actually and novel writing too, which is actually how I started writing before I got into nonfiction. And watching my 17-year-old son be a senior in high school, so that's kind of traumatic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
I've been there, done that twice. I understand.
Oh gosh. Maybe that's what makes it feel like time. You feel old.
Right.
I don't know about you, but so yeah, just staying busy. The funny thing is the publisher that I did most of my books for, New Page Books, which is science and just about everything. After that, they were sold to Red Wheel Weiser Books last year, which is really cool because that's a huge company. So now they're going to be re-releasing some of the older books that I did with new material in them.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so they're doing 1111, the time prompt phenomenon first. And
Wow.
I hope that they're going to let me do science, because I would love to revise that book.
Speaking of the 1111, the time prompt phenomenon, that was guys. If you haven't read that book, you got to read it. It's really, really interesting. And my fiance actually fell in love with that book with
cool.
the moment that I started mentioning the idea of trying to get you back on a show. I showed her some of your work, and she saw that book and she latched onto it, and was because that's something that really resonates with her, because it happens to her a lot. The 1111, 222, 333. I mean, you name it, all the way. The repetitive numbers and the time prompts and all that stuff. That's just been a really big deal to her. So.
Yeah, and it's funny because that was my third book, I think, third or fourth book, and it was written quite a while ago, and at that time it was before the big 2012 December. The world's going to end on December 21st, and we had actually found a link to that date where people were saying, well, when the winter solstice begins on December 21st, it's going to be exactly 11:11 a.m. at Greenwich Mean Time. And so a lot of people really thought that was going to be, some catastrophic, either good or bad,
Right.
Something really just phenomenal. And obviously we're still here, although I can't say for sure that doesn't mean something didn't change. Because a lot of people will say they did feel like, there was like a shift or something.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why the publisher thought, we need some updated information. Is this still going on? And it's like, yeah, it's definitely still going on. I mean, I get emails every week. I see 1111. What can you tell me what it means? Da 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 da. And it's like, well. This is what I can tell you. May not be, what you want to hear, but yeah, it's still just as crazy as ever.
Right. Can you one of your works that I never really had the chance to get and work through was I want to say it was called Resonance. Is that?
The resonance key.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's it. Well, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so after I wrote science, and I started writing with Larry Flaxman, we partnered up on a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to kind of do a sequel to science, but at the
Okay.
time we had become fascinated with the idea of, as you know, Nikola Tesla will say that everything is based on vibration, and that reality as we see it, we're literally seeing different vibrational frequencies
Right.
that determine solids and liquids and blah blah blah. So we really were fascinated with that, and could that have something to do with what we perceive as reality, and could paranormal phenomenon be occurring on different frequencies where we don't normally see them? And maybe some people do a little bit better than others. So it kind of got into that, and the fact that vibration, resonance, even sound
Mm-hmm.
is very foundational to everything. I mean, we don't think about sound, but sound waves, if you're Christian and or Jewish and you read the Bible, in the Jewish Bible, in the beginning was the Word,
Right.
and from the Word everything else came. And that's just so fascinating, because was that an awareness that the very first element of creation was sound, vibration?
Right. Right. Yeah, I
So,
think
yeah.
I think that spans a lot of different philosophies and theologies too. You see that kind of a theme in many different creation myths.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they all, a lot of them talk about, the Aborigines talked about speaking reality into existence, and that as you went along and named something, you gave it a reality, you manifested it. You said that's a bird, and that word had a certain vibration, and that became
Right.
the reality of what a bird is. It's just really fascinating stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of really wanted to look at it from, obviously, the paranormal point of view. But there are people who believe that the pyramid was built using resonance and sound frequencies,
Mhm.
and
Heard
that
that.
these ancient people just had so much more knowledge than we do. We're supposed to be so smart. We're so stupid compared to
Right.
but
Right.
they knew what the right frequencies were to get something to levitate.
Right.
And,
Well, there's that guy that in I think it's down in Florida. Was it Coral Gardens or something like that?
Yeah.
The
Then you
guy
might
that-
have built it the same way.
Yeah. I mean, supposedly he used the same technology that they did to basically levitate these massive stone blocks into place.
Yeah.
Now no one ever actually saw him do it, so it's still kind of a mystery. But
Right.
it's really, I mean, really cool in the fact that there's no recorded accounts of seeing equipment come in or out of that place,
Right.
and it's really just okay. Yeah, maybe there could be something to this. So,
That was more
Yeah,
of a
I
Stonehenge,
think.
right?
so what?
That was more of a Stonehenge, right? The levitation of the rocks. Is that what
Oh,
you're saying?
well, you know what? I don't know if you guys, I don't know what book we managed to get it in, because it happened fairly, like, within the last few years. There was some big story that came out that these researchers went to Stonehenge, and they found that if you use certain sounds, certain frequencies, they would like echo off of the stones, like in
Yeah.
the circle. And if you were inside, you would experience an altered state of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember somebody joking about it, saying, yeah, they must have had some big, rave dance parties in there. and it's funny, but it's like, oh my God, is that what it was for? Was it like their opportunity to, like, the shamans sit around and drink ayahuasca and smoke peyote, and was
Right.
that their place that they went to out in the middle of nowhere to do their weird shenanigans?
Mm-hmm.
but first getting into an altered state of consciousness so they could do their shenanigans.
Right,
You know?
right, yeah.
You know?
It's quite possible, yeah, definitely.
I don't know if it was I do remember seeing something about that. I think I saw it in like a short documentary or something.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
that was really cool. What do you guys
Yeah.
got?
Well, I was going to go back to the whole vibration and sound of things. With the vibrating itself and the sound, if that's supposed to be the norm, where do you feel that the paranormal field fits in that scenario? Is it the space between the vibrations, or is it on the vibration plane itself?
I think it's okay. So let me see if I can verbalize this correctly without sounding like an idiot. So you know how animals can see, different frequencies on the light spectrum, and they can even hear different vibrational frequencies that we can't hear. You
Right.
blow a dog whistle, and so the idea is paranormal phenomena operating on frequencies of both light and sound that normally we very limited humans with our very limited brains can't detect. But every now and then, maybe if the environment that we're in aligns perfectly, or there's just something going on either within us or without us, or maybe a combination of both, and that leads to another book that I wrote called The Grid. Then are we getting glimpses of these things that are all around us all the time, which is kind of weird to think about, but we're not built to tune into those frequencies. Kind of like a radio station. You might want to listen to a radio station, but you're too far away from it. But as you're driving closer, you start to pick up the signal, and you're getting a little bit of the station, and then the closer you get, obviously the stronger the signal gets. So it could be the same type of principle.
Makes sense, yeah. I know when we do some of our investigating, we try to implement some of those best practices like that. We use different types of frequencies. We've used, high, low sounds. We also flood the area with we've used like EMF pumps to, alter the atmosphere itself, trying to detect, different levels of what works best. Does this increase it? Does it, to affect it in what manner? And we try to document as much as we can. And it all makes sense of what you're saying about this, the vibrating itself, the sound itself. And I was
Have you guys
curious.
worked with infrasound?
A little bit. We used to do it a lot about a couple years ago. We haven't really did as much lately, which I would like to go back to doing it. It came to a point though, we'd be sitting in a dark, corridor, a room or somewhere, and it's just constantly going in and out, and it's just like, okay, it starts to make, like you talked about the shamans, a little bit euphoric, because it's just playing with your state.
It's like you wonder if that's the conscious state you need to be in to see this stuff manifest, which could explain why you and I could be standing next to each other. And this happened on the Queen Mary in the pool room, where I was there I was speaking, and we did the overnight investigation stuff, and I'm standing above, I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but above the pool, it's not in use anymore.
Right.
But above it, there's like a sort of a walkway you can stand and look over. And I was standing with Dave Schrader, another radio guy, and we were chit-chatting, and nothing was really happening to us, but there were people just below us that were freaking out. So, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Okay, are we just in the wrong spot? Is there something in my physiology that is blocking me from having these experiences? Could that be part of it? What was it, because they were holding something or standing next to something that was giving off EMF, or and so it's that kind of stuff that gets really frustrating.
Agreed.
Because you don't know, is this environmental? Is it physiological? Or even worse, is it both?
Right,
is it
right.
something? And because I've seen studies, they're not official studies, but I've seen paranormal groups do some pretty interesting research with women that are either not to get personal or anything,
Mhm.
but they're menstruating
Right.
or they're menopausal. Okay, so that means that certain hormones are going crazy, and they find that those women are more psychic during
Right.
those times.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of something external to us that we need to figure out and aligning whatever is going on in our physiology that allows somebody to have these experiences when the 5 people that they're in the room with don't. And I know that happens all the time.
Right.
Oh, for
right.
sure, yeah.
It's and you
Every
know,
time.
yeah. Poor Jason sitting over here. He's always, you know, he misses everything, and
Mhm.
it
Wrong
just
place, wrong
it's
time.
something could, I mean, okay, not to get crude, but we could be investigating a bordello, and you know, the ghost of an old prostitute could walk out and full body flash him and
Oh,
turn and
no.
walk away, and Jason would miss it.
Yeah.
Because I will be talking
Oh,
or turn
you
the
poor
other
guy.
direction every time.
And
One of your brain chemicals is off balance. But you know what? That's me, right? Here I am writing about the paranormal, but every time I've ever been somewhere, it's like, you know, twiddling my thumbs, and people right next to me are saying, you don't see that. Now, every now and then, I do, or I will experience something, the sensations or whatever. But so that leads me to wonder if, you know, do the things that we eat, do the medications we take, the time of day or night, whether we've gotten sleep or not, does any of that or all of that come into play? Which means we can never apply the scientific method to this stuff.
right.
Because there's so many variables. Like, have you guys ever done an investigation where you knew there was nothing going on at a location, but you told like guests or members that there was, to see about, you know, to kind of gauge that sort of psychological element? That really freaks
I
me
haven't.
out.
I haven't. No.
Yeah, and honestly, no.
Yeah.
We try to keep everything as real, as authentic as it can be on the location, especially with the public,
Yeah.
because, I mean, it's number one. It's the stake of the business. It's the business, and it's our names on the line, you know, here. So we want to be known as a team that tries to, you know, provide as much as we can scientifically, you know, and logically explain things to them.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
we
is
wanna
a
make
little
sure.
deceptive, but
Mhm.
what's really interesting is, so Larry Flaxman, who wrote a number
Mhm.
of books with me, has, I don't know if he's still really active with it, but he had a very large organization in Arkansas called RPath,
Oh yeah.
and he actually did that at a very large asylum, and now I can't remember the name of it. It's up in the northwestern part of Arkansas. Really famous.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really hard to get in there and investigate. But a couple of times, you know, he and I said, we need to find out what the psychological and belief aspects have to do with this. What about the power of suggestion? Excuse me. Can you tell somebody, oh, this place has a history of, well, on the 5th floor, a little girl named Janine died, and you can hear her crying in room A. And I will be darned if that did not happen.
Right.
So what they did is he gave them questionnaires to fill out, and they were people that had never been there before. Boonsville, is that the name of it?
That sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you guys probably know. But so it wasn't done to be deceptive. It was done to try to see if, when you're told something is haunted, can you actually, are you manifesting that phenomena, or does that open you up to it more because your belief is sort of, you know, your skepticism kind of gets dialed down a bit?
Right.
It was so
right.
fascinating because, you know, 75-80% of the people that he said, okay, so you might experience pebbles flying down the hallway, which I think is actually something that happened there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
or you'll hear a scream coming out of the bathrooms on the 8th floor, whatever. The people would write that down. Now, I don't know if they were just trying to please the group, or like, oh, I don't want to act, I don't want nothing to happen.
Right.
Then I'll be left out. But it was just really fascinating. I always ask groups if they ever have tried that. It is, it is a little deceptive,
Right.
but it's you could probably even do it with your own group members. Just say, look, I'm going to take you guys to a location, but I'm not going to tell you where, but I'm going to tell you the history, and then maybe take them to just an old house. I don't know how you could do it without somebody getting mad at you.
Right.
No, we always put that disclaimer out when we go to, especially the public stuff, or even in private. We tell them, we're here to try to find, to refute the claims or, reproduce them and find some new things that you may not have thought of. But it is what it is. I mean, they were once people, entities, spirits, whatever, that you may or may not get anything. You got to look at both ends of the spectrum. You can't just assume everything's going to be paranormal, because that noise you hear in the wall may just be running water. On pipes.
Exactly.
So you got to make sure you keep it on an even playing field. That way not everything's paranormal.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's really funny on social networking, and it's actually gotten better. But years ago, it was like, if a house was abandoned, haunted. If a building was closed down, haunted.
Right.
And it's like, wait a second.
We do that a lot on road trips.
there's
We'll be driving and see something, and everyone goes,
That
"It's
must kind of be
haunted."
haunted. Yeah. Because it's broken
Somebody
down
died in
and
this
dilapidated.
building, haunted. It's funny because if you think about it, somebody probably died in just about every building that's 10 years older.
Exactly.
10 years, because, I mean, people die in houses and apartments and condos, and they move out.
Right out
And
on the
they're
street
very much
outside
in-
the apartments, houses, and condos, and
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I always tell
I'm
people
glad
every
to
place is
see-
haunted, pretty much. Because we'd be dumb to think that it. I mean, like you said, every corner somebody's probably passed away in history, possibly at some point. I mean, so why couldn't it be haunted?
Well, not only that, but if we really, so if we get a little into things like alternate realities or parallel universes and parallel timelines,
string
And-
theory.
Yep.
when you die, you don't really, you just die in this reality. You die in this frequency, but you're still alive on another.
Right.
Well, that would mean that, because how many people die a year? I mean, millions all over the world, if
Right.
not, hundreds of millions. That would mean that there are ghosts everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, but we're not built again to constantly see them and interact with them. And so when you go to a really spooky place, maybe it's that suggestion or that belief, oh, I'm in an old abandoned building where 200 people died of, the plague, that sort of opens up a door. I don't know. These are all questions that I'm always asking myself, and why this, why that, why not this, how come this but not that, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah. Well, we've discussed, even last night we were doing something privately, and I was like, how much of this is mind over matter? I mean, is it possible that we're actually, like you talked about, are we projecting this outward, that we're creating this phenomenon that's happening?
Yeah.
We've read cases about, astro projecting, things outward, into different planes, and we talk about this all the time on the show, just different layers or levels of paranormal to just energy itself. I mean,
Right.
I don't know. It's all mind numbing to some people, but it's to some of us that really dive into this. It's like that opens up the whole can of worms, as far as what is out there and where and why.
Yeah, but doesn't it feel like every time you think you catch on to something, it opens up 8,000 new questions?
Always,
Yeah.
always.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like, why? Because like EVP, I'm so fascinated with EVP because I think you can do it anywhere and you're going to pick something up. Because again, if we are saying that ghosts, that there is life, some kind of life after death, even if it is just an extension of our consciousness or whatever, or the dead go to a parallel universe, or maybe they're not dead, they're alive in that other universe. So if we can pick up on their voices in a haunted asylum, you should be able to pick up on a voice in your garage. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
look at how humans roam the earth. We're everywhere. You know, we're in grocery stores and schools and walking our dogs. And it's so interesting too, because I was at a location, it was a restaurant, I can't remember the name, and they were doing EVP, and it was picking up thoughts that some of the members said, wait a minute, I was thinking that.
Yep.
Wow.
And I'm
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah.
oh, this opens up a whole new can of worms
Yep.
here.
Yeah, I've said that many times on the investigations
Yeah.
that I'll think and I was like, get ready to ask a question and it does it. I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't even asked it yet. You need to wait till I ask, because then you look like a
It's
crazy
like-
person in a dark room. Because people like, how'd you really think that? Were you really thinking that? You know? So go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you know what it's like? It's like now when you, like, if you buy something on the internet and all of a sudden the ads, or you could even say something over the phone, like Payless shoes, and then
Mhm.
you go on Facebook and you've got 8,000 Payless
Exactly.
shoes. It's creepy. It's almost like predictive.
Didn't we have
Um,
something like that with one of
So,
our team members in Nest City? They were in a room and started thinking, "Oh, this should happen," and then they had the papers fluttering. Was that?
I don't remember. 100%.
Yeah.
It's possible,
Yeah,
quite
it was
possibly.
there.
Was it there?
It was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if everything in the world is just one big Google ad that it reads our minds?
I know. Aren't we all in the Matrix anyway? It's all
Exactly.
one big computer program. But you know, if you think about that, if you think that EVP can pick up on because thoughts have energy, they have an electrical charge, you know?
hmm
But to me, that is like even freakier than the thought that they're picking up on the voices, you know, of the dead or entities that are in another reality or vibrating on another frequency. That means our thoughts are far more powerful than we thought.
Definitely.
For them to literally leap out of our heads or out of our consciousness and be recorded on tape. That's really creepy.
Yeah. We've also had the phenomenon happen where one of us will be walking and, you know, we're in dark quarters, you know, we're no lights most of the time, and you'll hear something go, watch out, and then next thing you know, you're stumbling. It's like it knew you were going to fall before you even fell.
Oh.
So it goes
Those
back to
ghosts
your
must think we're
EVP.
idiots.
I know, right?
Like, I told him to watch out. The ghost is like telling his friends, "Oh, these humans are these."
We're just
Like
one.
that.
We're one big sitcom for the ghost world.
Right. It's like that. Like that.
Oh,
that-
here they are again. Hey, Joe, trip them, trip 'em.
Right. One of my favorite memes that's been floating around lately is where the ghosts are standing behind the guys that are telling ghost stories, and the ghosts are yelling at each other. That's not what I said. I didn't say that at all.
I saw that. Yeah.
That's
Oh my
probably
God.
100% accurate. We hear one thing and they're not even saying that. It's just like, wow, okay.
Well,
Oh,
it would mean that when we die, we don't lose our personalities and our humor and our sarcasm.
I agree
So
with
yeah,
that.
you would have some sarcastic ghosts, but it's really frustrating. I don't know if we're at a sort of impasse right now where we've reached a certain wall that we can't get beyond in terms of testing, coming up with new equipment that hasn't already been used, coming up with new theories. I don't know. You guys are out there more in the field than I am, and does it feel like that? Like you've sort of hit a wall?
There's times it does
Yeah.
happen, I mean, but we always, even like I said last night, we were trying different things. There's three of us together and we were just sitting there, what can we do differently we have never done? And we tried a
Right.
new experiment, and all three of us did it. So it made it seem like, okay, that way one person didn't say, well, that guy's just doing this to
Right,
whatever,
yeah.
you know, to gain attention. But no, each one had their own experience with it, I feel. And yeah, you got to always step up your game, it seems like, each time because I mean, anybody can go get a recorder and go talk in a dark room and say, hey, anybody here? But, you know,
Right.
you want to be able to, you know, like I said, we're not scientists. We just use scientific methods to prove or
Yeah.
disprove
As
things.
best we can.
Yeah, as much as we can. Yeah, right. Because
It's
It's
without
hard.
a in the field, the using the scientific method takes on a whole new persona because you don't have a controlled environment.
Right.
Even with this
Exactly.
type of work, even in a laboratory, you wouldn't have a controlled environment because you're working with energies or entities or whatever you want to call it that are not understood, and we don't know how to control them.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we still don't even know what role we play in, being able to perceive them or manifest them, and that's what's really one of the big problems is, like, my dad was a scientist. He was a geophysicist,
Wow.
and he really believed in the paranormal.
Great.
He did.
That's good to hear.
And yeah, well, the funny thing is, so I grew up when I was little, I think I was like 6 or 7. My dad used to sit in the kitchen table playing cards and smoking cigarettes with a lot of his colleagues from the laboratory that they worked in. So there was an oceanographer, an astrophysicist, 2 geophysicists, and a geologist, and I couldn't remember the rest, but they used to talk about UFOs.
Wow.
That's all they ever talked about.
That's awesome.
But years and years later, because my dad helped me really with science. I mean, he really looked at the physics and, oh, well, you're being a little general here, but it's okay. You got the concept. But anyway, he told me, he said a lot of scientists are really, really into the paranormal. And I'm using that word, in a broad way to UFOs, cryptids, ghosts, remote viewing, psychic, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not really permitted to talk about it out in the public.
Yep.
Which is
Although
sad.
that's getting a little bit better, because now
Yeah.
a lot of them are writing books, and
For a minute there, I thought you were going to start doing a bad joke. A geophysicist, an astrophysicist walking.
yeah, really walk into your mom and they,
No, I was gonna follow that up with I was getting ready to ask. That's fascinating to hear that they all got together playing cards and were able to discuss that, because if you couldn't do that out in the public for fear of being ridiculed
No.
in your your field, so that's
No.
fascinating to hear that they would actually do that.
Yeah, and these are some pretty brilliant minds. And my dad, up until the day, he died a few years ago, but he was really into trying to apply all of the different sciences, whether it was earth science or physics or theoretical physics or whatever, to try to come up with clues as to where this energy or where this stuff was coming from, how it was getting here, and how we, with our little, pea brains, because our brains are really only trained to see, we're not trained to see beyond 3 spatial dimensions. Well, what if these things are multidimensional and they're right in front of our faces, and our brains have not yet developed the capacity to see them, but a dog can, or like your cat. Your cats will stare into
Oh yeah.
space like, oh my God, they're so fixated on something, and they're rah, rah, rah. And who knows? Maybe they're seeing something there that we can't.
Always, yeah.
Oh,
we
especially cats.
Yeah.
I think they do.
definitely, yeah.
You got, what, guys? I don't know if you've done this yet, but you need to bring a dog or a cat on an investigation.
Yeah.
And see. I don't know if they allow that, but see if they react differently in different spots, or that would be fascinating to see.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's a new TV show.
I never
Yeah.
thought about that.
Paranormal.
You're right.
Educator.
Paranormal pets, yeah, there you go.
They have,
That
like,
would be
cadaver
maybe that's our
dogs.
niche, guys.
Yeah, you're right,
Yeah,
they
there
do.
you go.
They do.
Oh, you got to give me some credit for it, though.
Oh, we will.
Yeah,
You get producing credits. There you go.
there you go.
Yeah. No, I've seen it used on actual paranormal shows. Every now and then they'll bring a dog in and
Yeah.
they react a little differently. Never a cat though, which is interesting.
Oh, they're
'cause
so,
They're-
they don't listen.
That's
They
true,
don't
too.
obey the rules.
You can't train them.
Yeah.
We need to close it up in a room. I know that's kind of cruel, but just see if it freaks it out. But
That's it.
dogs can smell cancer
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you would think that, and also I can attest to this, living in San Diego and having lived in LA, that my cats, the night before a major earthquake,
Hmm.
went crazy.
Wow.
And it got to the point where I was married at the time. My ex-husband and I would say, "Oh boy, we don't know when it's going to hit." And sure enough, within 24 hours, so they're hearing sound frequencies, they're feeling vibrations, they're
Right.
seeing.
That kind of reminds me. I mean, you guys deal with bigger earthquakes a lot more than we do here. I mean, but since they started all the geofracking out here, we've had a whole lot more, and we've had a few really, I mean, pretty good sized ones.
Right.
But I do remember, what was it, a year and a half, well, I guess probably about 2.5 years ago by now, there was one, and I remember for about a week beforehand, well, maybe not a week, maybe a few days beforehand, people were making comments about how odd the animals were acting, not just pets,
Right.
but wild animals.
Horses,
The birds and the critters out in the woods, and and pets.
Yeah.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we get this earthquake that, I mean, it was knocking glassware off the shelves in my house for about 90 seconds.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
Yikes.
yeah, so
So here's the question. Do you think that we have that same ability, but we're just so distracted and focused on our phones and social networking and going to our jobs that we're not allowing that part of us to really develop? I mean, I know some people are more psychic or more intuitive than others, but I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think back if I ever felt sick the night before an earthquake, and I can't really remember, just feeling weird. But we should be able to pick up on some of that too. And I don't know, maybe we've just lost that ability.
Yeah.
That's a really good thought, actually.
Right.
I don't know if I think that. Well, I think there are definitely some of us, like you said, some people are more psychic or more intuitive than others. There are definitely some of us that could probably, if we really tried to attune ourselves to that, would be able to. I don't know as a species as a whole if we could do that, but what I do know is that with all the technology, like you said, the social media, the computers, the phones, and high stress jobs and all of that stuff,
Right.
I do know that we've lost our ability, by and large, to realize and see the signs from nature that stuff like that's coming.
Yeah. Definitely.
Oh yeah, I think so too. So and that leads right into us maybe having lost the ability to pick up on, more paranormal. I mean, again, some people do, but maybe in the olden days where there were less distractions, they certainly told a lot of ghost stories back then,
Yeah.
and they believed in the supernatural big time, so maybe they were more attuned to it.
And if you want to take it even just a step further, I mean, just the idea of death has become such a foreign concept to at least us in the United States. It's not quite to this extent in a lot of the rest of the world, but in the United States, the idea of death has become a very foreign concept to us. We're not exposed to it on a personal basis, whereas back in the older days, people didn't go to nursing homes. They, families kept their loved ones home, and
That's right,
they would pass away in the home. The nuclear families where the grandparents would age in the home with the parents and the little kids and generations, and they're in a home, and so kids grew up exposed to the idea and the concept of death, and that wasn't a foreign concept, so it's not too hard to take it a step further and say where that might relate to paranormal activity. Maybe we've lost something in that aspect too.
Well, yeah, I think so. I think we are, and that's another thing that recently I've kind of been interested in the reticular activating system of the brain, the RAS, which I read about when I was doing research for a book that I wrote on mindfulness meditation. And I had never heard of the RAS before. So apparently it's the part of our brain that filters unnecessary information and allows us to, process the information that we need. So the woman that wrote the article said that our brains have something like 40 million bits of information coming at us per second or minute. It was some outrageous thing like that. And we can maybe only really process 40 of those. So the RAS's job is to filter out all the rest of that and deliver to your functioning brain the 40 pieces of information that you need in any given minute.
Wow.
I was so fascinated because I thought, oh, well, what about all the rest? So the RAS takes our focus off of all that stuff that is not necessary, but maybe that's the land of ghosties and goblins.
Right,
and,
right.
And then all of a sudden, when that becomes important to you, your RAS kicks in and starts to seek that.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, you need to focus on the paranormal. Oh, all right. Well, let me get you some information here.
Right.
That was so fascinating to me. I was like, oh my
really
God, there's like little clues everywhere. This is so weird.
That's really cool. I'd heard I'm an RN, and I also do a lot of holistic type studies, and so I had heard a little bit about the RAS before, but I'd never gotten really into a lot of detail about it. But I think I'm going to have to do some research on that now. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like located near the brainstem, and it's sort of a cluster of nerves or whatever, but it literally serves to filter information. And once something may become important to you that wasn't yesterday, so your RAS will stop ignoring that piece of information. Like, you're going to go buy a new car and you want to get a blue Hummer. Well, all of a sudden, blue Hummers are going to become important for you to notice. Therefore, you'll notice 24 of them when you're driving home. It's like, oh, darn it. But they were always there.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was really fascinating because right away my brain went there, like, oh, does this have something to do with why we filter out all the paranormal stuff? Because it's really not important to our day-to-day functioning life. But when it becomes important, does that mean that we can work with our own RAS to start allowing it to come through? I don't know. I think it's a
Does
cool
that have something
idea.
to do with, like, when you catch yourself daydreaming, and when you're daydreaming, you're thinking about 30 things. You know what I'm saying? Where all of a sudden you're sitting at your desk thinking of something, and all of a sudden you're just.
And then 3 seconds later, you can't remember any of it.
Remember any of it, but yet you were thinking about 30 other things that went through your head.
Right. I mean, the human brain's fascinating in itself. I mean, how many times have you been driving the same route every day, and for a glimpse of whatever 5 to 10 seconds, you're like, how'd I get to this spot in the road? And I don't remember driving this part this far. Next thing you know, you're to a certain point that you're like, wow, this is scary. I blacked out, possibly for 5 seconds, and I'm already here at this next level of my journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you went on autopilot. Well, you guys, I had 2 hours of missing time on a freeway in LA, in Los Angeles, and woke up heading to Sacramento, and I panicked. And I don't know how I didn't kill anybody or how I didn't kill myself. I was on a freeway.
Right.
2 hours. And missing time is really weird because you really have no recollection. So a few years later, I was on a radio show with Whitley Strieber's wife. You guys know who Whitley Strieber is. He wrote Communion about
Yep.
So she and the host said, Marie, that particular freeway area that you were at is notorious for alien abduction.
I was getting ready to ask that.
I was like,
Wow.
That's what I was
Oh,
thinking
no.
I
too.
was too. I was like, is that similar to when people get abducted? Is that really what's going on? Are they actually abducted, or are they, is
I
it the
know,
blackout
yeah.
phase? That's
and
interesting.
they were like, why haven't you gotten hypnotically regressed to find out? Because I don't want to. I was on a radio show a few months ago, and I told that story, and the two hosts said, well, we're challenging you in November. So I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. But I
Wow.
honestly couldn't remember anything that happened in those 2 hours, except that I was able to function and not kill anybody.
Right.
So yeah, it's like a part of your brain goes elsewhere.
Mhm.
I do that almost every morning. I have an hour drive
Right.
to and from work,
Yeah.
and
Oh.
it's through the back country here in
Right.
Kansas. And I come to my senses every morning, knowing full well that I have driven through 4 small towns and I cannot remember any of it.
That is wild.
Yeah.
And that means there is a part of your consciousness, or maybe your brain is able to operate on autopilot while your consciousness goes elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't sound right in the reverse. It sounds more like the brain is doing the grunt work and your consciousness is like, oh, I'm going to go here and here and
Right.
do some astral travel, but you're not going to remember.
Exactly.
Who knows why you don't remember, but yeah, that's
And what's a
wild.
better time than in your car?
Where it's safe, right? No distractions.
Yeah, the
Oh
worst
my
is like
gosh.
if your radio's broken, it's like,
Oh, I know.
no.
You're low with
I
your
actually
thoughts.
have to think.
Well,
But,
that's
that
scary
kind of stuff is
that's
weird.
scary to go through something like that.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was I had to go to a meeting in Hutch, and I think I've only been there a few times, but isn't it like 45-minute drive?
About 45.
Yeah.
And I had to be there really early, and after it was over, I was coming back home, and I remember being really tired. And you know when you've been on the road for a while and you kind of pass out a little, and
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you wake up
Yeah.
pretty quick. There was a time, and I've never said this even to my wife because it made no sense to me.
Revealed
up
for the
until-
first time.
Right.
up until you just said this, but there's, when you're on your way back into Wichita, there's this exit you get on, and you kind of veer off to the right a little bit, and then you're home, basically into Wichita. I woke up on that exit ramp and remember
Oh.
freaking out, and I was probably like 27 years old at the time, and
So this was
But
back.
I don't-
This was back when dirt was new.
yeah, and it wasn't even red yet. But I do remember waking up going, okay, wait a minute. There is no way I could have left point A
Right.
to point B without, if I really fell asleep, because there's too many exits
Yeah.
that you have to go. So how did that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've never
I
mentioned
got
it to anybody ever because nobody would believe you. But then now
Yeah.
you sat here and said that you actually remember losing.
Well, she was
2
abducted, though,
hours.
so that's different.
yeah.
She just doesn't want to know about it, right, Marie?
But that is
Well, I
scary
think,
because
yeah,
you
I
don't
think
know how did I
sometimes
do
you're-
that.
Your brain just, I think it's the hypnotic nature of driving where you're just, passing streets and signs. It's kind of hypnotizes you. And I think your brain is able to function because your brain knows what, where you're going, hopefully, and what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it allows that other part of you, mind, consciousness, but to just sort of take a break.
Right.
And there's a big difference between falling asleep, because I think if you fall asleep, you're going to get in an accident because your brain will not be working.
Right.
Mhm.
But you're awake. You're just in like a different brain wave. I don't know, what is the low one, delta, theta, or
Almost like a trance-like state.
Yes.
Is what I equate it to.
Yeah.
It's
So have
so
you or
maybe
anybody?
your brain
Go ahead. Sorry.
slipped. What is the lowest? Your brain may have slipped from whatever we're operating in most of the time, gamma, alpha, whatever. I
Right.
think it's theta is the sort of hypnotic, or is that deep sleep? I'm gonna have to look it up. I forgot the damn brain. But that could perfectly be possible, that the sort of hypnotic aspect of driving, it's sort of soothing, and it just kind of lulls you into a different brainwave, but you're still able to function.
Right. I don't know. It's all very fascinating, very fascinating. I hate to say it, but I think we're about out of time here, Marie.
Oh my gosh! Well, I'll have to come back for another show sometime.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I was gonna say,
wa-
I want her to come back after your challenge you got from those two other radio hosts. I
Yeah.
want you to come back after November and tell us what the results are.
Well, I don't
you do it.
know whether I'm going to. I'm still working on that one.
I got you.
Listen, because if I'm going to be upset if I find out I was, but I might be equally upset to find out that I wasn't.
Right. I wanted to get into some of your newer work on disasters and the demons and angels and that type of stuff too. But
Just don't wait 2-3 years to have me back on.
okay. You got a
I'd
deal.
be pleased to come back. Yeah, absolutely. We'll do part 2.
That sounds
Very
good.
cool, very cool. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We've been visiting with Marie D. Jones. This is the author of numerous paranormal nonfiction books, including Science and the 1111, the Time Prompt Phenomena. And I believe your website is mariedjones.com.
That's right.
All right, very cool. We'll put all this stuff up so everyone can get more information on you. And I'm really excited to have you back again soon. So,
Absolutely.
all
My
right.
pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. You too.
Bye. Well, that was awesome.
Wow, that was a lot to think about.
That
2 hours?
that went fast.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you couldn't handle it for 2 hours? That you're trying to say?
No, 2 hours that she drove.
Oh, you're talking about her drive.
No,
Like,
'cause
you
that- guys, that
handled her
did-
for 2
that is
hours.
like
I'm
no
like, I
bullshit.
could have
That
talked to her all
happened to
damn
me.
night. Yeah. Yeah, that's
and I don't
interesting.
remember. I remember leaving the
Right.
dealership,
Yeah.
and then I wake up on that exit, and I'm like, "What the? How
Yeah.
did that just
Mhm.
happen? I
Right.
should die. I should have gotten in an accident."
Yeah. Yeah.
I do it every morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
No matter how you get it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like I said, me too. I think I blank out sometime just south of Augusta, and I come to my senses going around that curve where 81 curves south into North Wellington,
Yeah.
and I've driven through 4 towns, don't remember a bit of it. So
Yep.
4 towns and at least 3 different highways.
Yep.
So, all right. It is time for a break, so we are going to cut out for a little bit. In the meantime, everyone out there in Viewerland, like and share and give us a thumbs up and subscribe and whatever you can do to help us get the word out. And we will see you in just a few minutes. right.
Mr. Crunchy Munch.
What you got there, Rose? A little baggie of something there?
Brownies.
Sound effects. That's what he had.
Sound effect.
No. Well, we're back. What did you say? What?
What do you think? What do you think about all
Talking
that?
about a lot of shit. No, I'm kidding. With her, that was
Yes.
fascinating. Like I said, I could talk to her for
Yeah.
I think my
well, a
brain's
couple of
little-
drinks, and we'd talk, and next thing you know, it's 5 hours later. Like, we get through talking times, but, you know, we did it last week with Memorial Day, or Labor Day, excuse me. We were out in front just chatting it up.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, we should go, really.
Right.
You left because you're old.
Yeah, we're always saying we need to go. Okay, I need to get home and get to bed. And
Next thing you know, it's an
Yeah.
hour plus. I'm like, God,
Right.
I need to go, really. But we just get to talking. That's how I felt about her. She's a fascinating person. I mean,
Yeah.
she's very, very intellectual.
Yeah.
I like talking to her about some of her theories because we've had those discussions. I mean, maybe not even in this group, but I've talked to other people outside the group about shit like this. And
Yeah.
especially string theory. I mean, that's
Oh my God, that's you can
mind blowing. You know.
you can dig into that forever. It
Uh-huh.
seems like it's
Yep.
But it makes so much sense. I mean, I
Yeah, it
can
does.
really get a hold of what she's saying.
Yeah.
But you know, when she was talking about, you know, the different tones and the mindset, so there's millions and millions of people. There's music being played. There's different tones going on all the time.
Right.
Would that explain maybe some of the phenomenons that people witness?
Okay, let me throw this back to you,
You know?
because I tell Jason about this all the time. Like, anytime we're doing something and we're having conversations, especially on investigations, but I'm still listening to what's going around me, the whole surroundings. I mean, it's the same thing. You just gotta layer it or tune it in and out of things, because I'll be talking, like there's a voice behind us. And
Yeah,
like, what?
see, it makes me so mad because I'm so in tune with our conversation
You just
that I'm not
focus on the
listening
one
to
thing.
behind me. And,
Right.
Yeah.
But Leo's catching
I'm
everything.
like, there's a knock right there.
And-
There's a voice over there, and it's just like you got to be able to do that. It's the same thing we do. What she's talking about with the sound. I mean, I just was curious to ask her what layer level. I mean, is the space in between the vibrations, is that where paranormal fits, or is it part of the vibrating wave itself? I mean,
right,
who knows?
right. Yeah.
I like her take on that. I mean, just in general.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
But I was kind of talking about being able to levitate something so huge.
You mean like this the
Like David
pyramids?
Blaine?
Yeah,
Yeah.
How
yeah.
they make David Blaine, how they make
Thank you, Jason.
how they make the pyramids, and that's a theory that's could be one of the ways they did it because
Right.
they're such a sad to say more advanced civilization than what we are possibly. Yeah, we have computers and stuff, but we can barely make a house that's worth a damn, anymore.
Or we can't even have a decent conversation because I'm on your phone, or I'm on my phone, you're on yours, and it's just like we tune that out anyways. But back then, they had nothing but time and effort, so why can't they do all that?
Well,
No,
we
I-
kind of just
I read-
outsmarted ourselves, and if it doesn't make sense or we don't think we could do it with our minds, so we just
I don't know about outsmarting, but maybe it's because we become so dependent on other things
Right.
thinking for us, and we're just lazy,
Well, that's a big, huge part.
very
Yeah.
lazy.
Like she mentioned,
Well-
try to go in and turn your radio off for 2 minutes. There's tests. I mean, I took this class, this training session that's supposed to make you a better person, kind of a thing, for leadership and stuff. But it said part of it, one of the examples or exercises was to turn your radio off for 3 minutes and just be alone with your thoughts. It's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's so
Yeah.
damn quiet. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
What
I
happens
don't
when
want
have the sound on?
to. I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
It's
I
just
don't
bad.
want to be alone with my
I've done it
thoughts.
myself, and it's scary.
that no one should be alone with my thoughts for 3
Right.
minutes.
Well,
Isn't that what we do when we go to bed? You turn the lights off and
I
you
know.
think.
no, no,
You don't.
no.
I had headphones on for reasons.
You don't.
Yeah. Because they have to shut those thoughts off because they just go otherwise. I mean,
Yeah.
and
Interesting.
it keeps you up at night, literally.
I
Yeah.
got Alexa for that. She helps me. Meditation music. She puts me straight out.
But,
But-
never mind, I won't say it.
Oh, you mean okay?
Or Mountain Dew. Yeah, works too.
What were you going to say, Jeremiah? You started to say something. Sorry.
Yeah, I read an article the other day, and I want to say it was the American Journal of Medicine or something like that. One of the usually boring journals that I have a pile of on my desk at work
Right.
because of what I do.
Right.
But it had an article in it that was really interesting about the onset of ADHD with the recent rise of ADHD diagnoses in correlation with the onset of social media, especially YouTube. Used to, before the advent of YouTube, the average American had an attention span of approximately 11 minutes because that was generally the time between commercials on TV.
Right.
Okay.
Made sense. Yeah.
Now
It's much shorter. Yeah.
you're talking 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minutes. In
Yeah.
some rare cases, 4 minutes because that's how long the videos are. And
Yeah.
then you have an advertisement and you go to the next video. Advertisement, next video. And it just goes on. And our brains are trained this way.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Can you say that again?
no, thank you. Yes, exactly.
I heard everything you said. I had to do that. That's funny. No,
It
but
just-
it's very true. I mean, it's shrunk that much because of, like you said, we're trained. We program that way. We're trained that way.
Right.
Yep. What's
And
gonna be
it's
next?
your brain is just like any other organ. In your body, the systems and the muscles and the organs that get worked out are the ones that get stronger. And you have muscle memory. Well, you have I can't remember what it's called right offhand, but it's basically the same thing as muscle memory, but it's in the brain and the way your neural pathways fire.
Right. Well,
And-
it's simple shit. Hey, stupid, breathe. It's firing constantly to tell your body, other parts of your body, hey, you need to breathe now.
Right. Yeah.
Things we don't think about. I mean,
Right,
that's what
yeah.
that brain. And she talked about the RS, what it's called, RAS, whatever.
Yeah.
That thing does stuff like that. It processes so much information, millions of information, not millions,
Exactly.
thousands, I guess, but. And you got to decipher which one I'm going to pick and choose. Okay, what about the little cluster over here? You totally just ignored and it flew over your head. And
Yeah,
when you get that, how
exactly.
you process that now, you know.
It's
Yeah.
just it's amazing how much of it goes in together. And I at the risk of getting on a soapbox, I'm
I know,
trying
right?
really hard not to
No,
get on a soapbox
I hear
because
you.
as much as I use it and as much as I have to depend on it, I hate technology.
Yeah.
I think it's ruining us as a culture and a okay,
100%.
Double-minded
okay,
nation.
soapbox over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: kind of what you were talking about, ADH, all that. I can't remember which
Yeah.
HT, whatever ADT, whatever it's called. That's not security, by the way, in case you didn't know. The people don't follow at home. ADT. What about like autism? Okay, let me ask you this: does everything's flying past millions of miles? Does everything slow down for them? Because you've seen autistic person, child, whatever. They're able to focus in the moment and build this elaborate card structure. You know, they've done tests on that, and everything
Right.
around them is flying a million around. You know, but here they're just honed in and focused on one thing. And it's to the basic person, they couldn't recreate that structure. You know, more
Right.
than likely. But
Right.
how can this child or this person with that type of thing?
Does it slow down everything? Honestly, I don't know a whole lot about autism. I've never worked with it much. Never had cause to really research it much.
Right, I understand.
But the little bit that I do know is just the difference in the when you do a brain scan
Right.
on a normal person, a normal human brain versus an autistic human brain, and in just normal everyday functions, they fire and they light up in totally different ways. There's
Right.
completely different neural pathways being utilized. Different portions of the brain is they might use the spatial reasoning portion of the brain to process emotion, the way I understand it. I
Right.
could be completely wrong about that,
Right.
but that's just kind of my understanding.
Yeah.
And so, if you take an autistic, and I actually have a neighbor who has an autistic child, and just seeing some of the stuff that this kid does with toys that aren't supposed to be used that way,
Exactly.
and it's almost ingenious. It's just some of the things that he can come up with to do with his toys. But then, you know, he has the social interaction skills of someone half his age.
Right.
So it's like that. I'm just pulling it terms out of the air here, but that spatial reasoning portion of his brain
It's not developed. Or
is
undeveloped.
it's overdeveloped at
That
the
can be
expense of some of the other portions of the
sacrifices
brain or
everything,
something,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I'm probably completely wrong about all that. This is just my observation and what little I know about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very, very interesting.
Right. And going back to what Marie said earlier, she was talking about the brainwaves. What layer is that? She was right. It is theta. It's the part we go to sleep, the hypnotic state. That's theta. That's the one in the lower brain. There's 5 brainwaves. There's alpha, beta, delta, gamma, theta.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just different level. Each one has a specific function, brainwave, and the one she was talking about was theta. So she was right. So when it goes back to the whole how to get here from point A to point B 2 hours later, that phase would be affected. So, yeah, no, it was just talking to her was fascinating. I mean, like I said, it really opens your mind up. I
Yeah.
mean, and it's kind of what we do in the actual paranormal field and even whatever else, not necessarily paranormal, but I mean daily lives. We have to. What were you gonna say? What?
I was just gonna. Well, finish what you're
No,
gonna
no,
say.
no. It's all about Jason. I'm kidding. Just give me shit. Oh, you have a sunburn. My bad. I didn't mean to touch you. But no, I was gonna say we try to use those different techniques, or to find that happy medium, that layer, to where we can communicate with whatever is out there. I mean, that other side because I mean, who knows what we're talking with? We think we're talking to somebody. Is it an actual physical being? We don't know. Is it
Right.
energy? Is it parallel dimension? We don't know. We just
Or
speculate.
is it like talking to a star? It's the physical or possible past that was right there, but it's gone. But we're just seeing finally, we're just. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
at all?
yeah.
It's kind of like that that dead star that we look up and
Right.
hey, the light's still there, but it's not there really.
When we talked about before, 8 seconds ago, the light we're seeing, is dead light, or it's old light.
Right.
It's the past. So
Right,
time
yeah.
travel possible because of
Mhm.
that. I mean, we mentioned that. I know it's getting deeper again, but but I mean, it really is. It is. I mean, you're looking at something from the past already at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And if I heard her right when she mentioned the fact that scientifically we can't really prove the paranormal because there's too many variables.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We just can't do it.
When I wanted to probe her on that, no pun intended, because she had that
Yeah.
incident, I was going to ask about the whole science.
Oh, we have another
We
call.
have a phone call coming in.
Take it. Oh, yeah, we need headphones.
Good evening. Welcome to the Cryptic Heartland podcast. Who am I speaking with?
Well, this would be Captain Carl out here in Dodge.
Well, hello, Carl. I can't believe I don't have your phone number in my contacts yet. What's up with that?
It's under Captain Carl.
I don't know.
What's up, sir?
Maybe I've been a bad boy, and you just don't want to talk to me.
Well, part of that's true. The bad boy part, yes. But we always love talking to you, Captain Carl.
Hey,
I'm putting you in my contacts right now
As
as
we
Captain
speak.
Carl.
or Captain Chaos, whichever one you prefer. I've been known by both.
Right. What's up, sir?
Hey, well, I listened to your guest speaker today. That was quite interesting. Fact of the matter is, it actually filled in some blanks in some of my studies that I've done. And I'll try and stay on point, because you know how I can get off on a tangent. But way back when I was studying the executive fire management, one of our mandatory classes was on maximizing your potential and also maximizing on your ability to problem solve. And there's a term for it, and it escapes me right at the moment. But basically, one of the premises that the instructor beat into us is in your brain, you've got a limited amount of hooks in your brain, okay? So you start hanging things on these hooks, and things like, okay, the car needs the oil changed, or hey, there's that old transistor radio that I set back in the garage that I'm going to fix, or the back door needs this and this and this and this and this. And he said, what happens is as those hooks fill up, your ability to put new stuff in, just kind of like a computer, if you've got a number of tasks running, it slows down your ability to take care of other tasks. And right after I came home from that class, I went out in my garage, and his answer was either fix it, give it away, or throw it away, okay? Anything that you had in projects in the back of your brain. Either find a solution, fix it, or get rid of it. And so consequently, I went through and threw a whole bunch of stuff away that I regretted later, because it's like, I knew I had the part to fix so-and-so's vehicle, but I threw the darn thing away. But what this, and the way this ties into what she was talking about, because not only Rose, but I've experienced basically the exact same thing, is driving down the road. I don't want to say it's hypnotic, but once you get the cruise control set and you've got some tunes running on the radio that are enjoyable to you, and you know the path, your mind will quit worrying about driving. It's just like kind of like goes on quarter power, and you start thinking about all this other stuff. Well, for me, and all of this relates to me, if I've got a problem with a piece of equipment or a big project that's coming up, one of the best things I can do is go throw a leg over the Harley, set the cruise control, get some good tunes going, in my, I always wear a helmet, so get the good tunes going in my helmet, feet up on the highway bar and relaxed. And it's amazing how many times when I'm doing that all of a sudden a little germ of information will start to formate in my brain, and it'll roll around a little bit, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, if I check this, or I do this, or I do that, I bet that would solve the problem. And it's amazing how your mind works that way. And it's, once again, we're driving a vehicle, and I don't know whether some of us process more than 30 bits a minute or 30 bits a second or whatever that was that she put out there. Mm-hmm. But it's like half your brain clears, and it's like, okay, this half's taking care of the driving, and the other half of it is working on whatever. And I also think that's maybe, to relate this back to the paranormal side of it, as I've shared with you guys in past times, that the most times that I feel the entities in the building are the most active have usually been after major medical events, when I'm in a recovery side of that, even just before I go in and have something done, or after I go in and have something done, is when I start picking up on the different activities that are happening inside that building. So, what do you think about that?
I would agree with that, especially the medical part of it, because we've heard studies. You hear not even studies. I mean, just everyday stories where people who are about to pass on, or have gone to the other side and come back, have had some kind of incident where they've seen loved ones in the room with them, or they've supposedly saw a flash of light and then talked to somebody over there and they said, oh, it's not your time yet, go back, kind of a thing. So it makes you wonder if it clears the palate for just even a brief second, or not a palate, but the plate basically, and next thing you know, you're a little bit more fresh or open to the simple things. I mean, it goes back to when we talk about children sometimes. Why do they get to see paranormal things? Why do they see paranormal things more than other people do? Well, it's because they're blank slates, they're not, haven't been biased yet in the world.
I'd agree with that, because that's the thing. They don't have all these other concerns that us adults do that we're worried about, so consequently their hooks are open, if you want to go with that analogy. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, that's interesting, and I don't explain it. I don't try and explain it. I just relay it as, hey, because hearing Roe tell his story, I'm like, yeah, I can. We were in Wichita actually yesterday. Took the grandkids to Wichita, went shooting, and spent the day, and come back. And I'll tell you right now, I can't remember anything about the trip home. Now, I don't think I was zoned out on the trip home, and there were no adult beverages involved in this trip. So.
Right.
But it's like, okay, that task has been accomplished. Delete it. You know, okay, that file's not needed anymore. Delete it. But it's back there somewhere because, you know, going from my house to Wichita is not a first-time accomplishment, you know. So consequently, I have that past file is back in there going, well, we'll go this way, go this way, go this way. Get off on this particular exit if I'm going there. But something else to throw into this whole mix, have you ever noticed that when you're driving someplace new, that when it starts getting, I got to start paying attention, you have to turn the radio down?
Right. It does happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first thing people do. Or if you're backing up, you turn the radio down. I mean, same thing. I mean, what is that about?
Right? I just
you
thought
have, you have to. I mean, it is what it is. You have to focus, I guess, and that little bit of noise or sound
just
is
automatically
distracting.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
because
just,
you'd hate Oombop to come on and
it-
you're backing up.
you love it. You love it. Don't lie.
It just opens up another area of the brain that's not being concentrated on, because
Right.
so you're able to focus better.
Yep. 100%. Yep.
Yep. Now, if you put beer drinking country and western on, is that distracting to this? I would say that would be distracting to us rock and roll boys.
I was
But,
gonna say,
Oh,
only
my
'cause- only 'cause
God,
I hate
that-
country. Yes, that's why.
Yeah.
Yep. But I do that every now and then just to torture myself because it's fun. It's like something like I can last.
That's
before
fun? That's fun?
You gotta make your own fun, man. So
Okay. I think I'll find another way to have fun.
well, you gotta do it, especially on those long trips. You know, when you're driving, and we do a lot of driving in our field.
Okay, now maybe if I needed to
See?
stay awake,
Yeah.
I mean,
try it sometime. Turn the radio off, concentrate with your thoughts for 2 minutes, like I said, and then try the country thing. It's just like,
I don't know if I could go
I'm
there.
telling you, you'll
I
be-
think I'd do the country first.
you'll be fascinated with the results.
Ooh.
It's interesting studies, man. Yep.
That's just like a local radio station here in Dodge when I was younger. On Monday mornings, that's what we had for an alarm clock, was the radio would come on and start playing. Well, our local DJ on Monday mornings would play Montavani and Lawrence Welk and all this slow
Oh, my
stuff. And I'm
goodness.
like, dude, you're killing me. You're killing me here. That just makes me want to roll over and sleep longer. I need to get up, play some AC/DC or give me.
Amen, brother. Yep. That's awesome. Yep. No, I agree.
Now-
I agree on some of that stuff. Some of that level. Yeah. You never know. I mean, it all adds up at the end of the day. I mean, as far as like the time travel possibly, or the point A to point B, with little to remembering anything. It's just we're just programmed as humans that we can do it. We can do it with our eyes closed sometimes. I don't suggest doing that, but I've tried it. So.
right.
Well, now I didn't get a chance to call in last week and visit with you. You had a concrete wall that appeared to have an image on it, and something else that came up in this same class back at the National Fire Academy was the same instructor. He says, the human mind is programmed to always be scanning for things that we recognize. People, faces that we recognize, and things that we need to avoid. That comes from our primitive side of our brain, that we're always looking for, these are friends, these are enemies, that's an animal that's going to try and attack me. And he said that's the basis of why you look at some person can look at a piece of toast and go, "Oh, there's a picture of Christ burnt in that toast," or there's, "Hey, look, Elvis is on that wall."
Right.
So, when you start seeing things like that, I'm not saying it's not something paranormal at all,
Right.
but it is that being used by an entity as a way of letting say, "Hey, look, here I am." So
Yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say, Carl, I don't know about that, but I mean, when it comes to Christ on a toast, I mean, I look at it and I take a bite, it's like, man, Christ is delicious. I'm kidding, of course.
now, Elvis didn't die; he just went home. Remember that line from the Men in Black,
Right. And Michael Jackson was an
But,
alien
yeah.
too, so.
Yeah, and of course it has to be true. I saw it on Facebook that
Right.
anybody that has Rh negative blood is not from this earth.
Yes. They're part alien, or at least like hybrids or something like that.
Right.
I saw that same thing. Yeah.
So it's got to be true,
Well,
right?
Yeah, it's got to be true. We saw it on
It's
Facebook,
on
you know.
the interweb. Yep. Definitely.
Look, guys, I hope I brightened your evening up a little bit. So
Always.
Yes, sir.
you guys take care now.
Bye,
Yes,
Carl.
sir, buddy.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye. That's fun. It's always fun.
He's always funny.
Yep.
Oh, hybrid.
Oh, goodness. So what else?
Wrote a little comment about Mbop coming on. I saw it, the reason I laughed so hard at that is because I saw a deal. It was 10 different songs done in the style of Korn.
I saw that too.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
Mbop, or
One of them?
what, however the fuck you say that.
Don't act like you don't know.
It was one of them.
Act
So
like you don't know.
Yeah. And I know if I called you right now, it'd be your ringtone, so don't even try it.
go for it.
No. Yeah. No, I did see that same video. It's pretty entertaining. I mean, just sometimes stuff that people come up with.
I was actually really impressed. Stephanie knew all but 2 of those songs. I wouldn't. I might have gotten. Well, I have to say, Mbop would have been one of them. But I don't remember what the other one was.
gotcha.
But I might have gotten like 2 of them. But she knew all but 2 of them. So I don't know if.
I think it was, "Oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you're
God.
so fine, you blow my mind." Hey, Mickey.
I don't think that was even one of the songs, dude.
Terrible.
It just shows how old you were, because you were what?
You're telling on yourself now.
Yeah, you were what? What year of college?
I
were you
just
in?
remember, hearing about it.
Yeah. Yep. So when are you going to debut those spandex that you used to talk about all the time?
Oberlin.
No, Nest
Oberlin?
City. Nest City.
Oh, you want me to do it in Nest City?
For the
Nest City,
Halloween.
Halloween.
All right. I might do it then.
Yikes.
Little spandex and doing twirls.
But like I said, going back to what Marie and all that stuff, we kind of did an experiment last night where, well, it goes back to the Ouija boards. Is it actually happening, or is it mind over matter? Am I making this planchette, whatever you say, how you say it, am I making it move
Right.
because I want it to move that way? If I say, I know somebody passed away recently, I'm going to go to D, for Dawn or something.
Mhm.
And or whatever, is it mind over matter? Is it 3 of us on the board? Is one of us actually thinking this with free willing it kind of a thing?
Right.
And I made these guys do a test last night, but we did it with pen and paper, and they had some experience with it. It's the same thing. I don't know if it's mind over matter.
I
Right.
felt when I felt
Different.
myself getting to a
That's it.
point where I was just relaxed, because I've done a lot on the Ouija board years ago,
Right.
and you could feel it move, but I did not know exactly what it was doing.
Right.
Which was weird because I've never experienced anything like that before.
With the Ouija board or with the pen?
No, with the pen.
Yeah.
With the pen. Now
Yeah.
the Ouija board, not necessarily with myself, but somebody else. It's kind of like you're just following it. It's just moving on its own. So
Yeah, I've done it too. It feels free floating.
It feels free, yeah.
Especially because you're not pushing hard on it, but you're also lightly, you can feel it
Yep.
glide. Thing is with those two, especially the Ouija board, and even last night, you heard me at the end say we're closing this portal because you are opening and inviting whatever, anything to come through there, whether it's through this little piece of cardboard box or board, or you're just welcoming things. If you don't close it off, it's been known to have a negative effect, unfortunately, and it's bad juju.
Yeah,
'cause
that's
can't get those closed as easy.
as a divination process. Really, that's the one downside to the Ouija board is you. Okay, so when you're talking about types of divination, there are passive versus active divinations.
Right.
The Ouija board would be an active divination,
Right.
where you're not only allowing something to channel through, but you're actually giving it partial control over your body.
Right.
In movements of your body.
Right.
That's where the dangerous part can come in, because if you're not careful, attachments can develop, and if it's something really negative, it can escalate from there. Plus, if you don't close down the portal afterwards, so it's always, it's something. I'm not opposed to using a Ouija board. I've used one several times, and I'm not scared to use one, basically anywhere I would, but there's a way to do it and a way not to do it.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, in essence, we do it anyways when we use spirit boxes. It's the same type of thing. You're welcoming something to come through, and we've heard some weird, questionable things to that, where it's darker entities, it's not like it's coming through, and it's like, well, am I just hearing that, or who knows? Is it really opening that portal? Is it saying, hey, you're trying to talk to dear old grandma, but hey, freaking Satan himself's coming through, like, let's party, I mean, whatever. You never know. So it's something to think about. Yes, and I wanted to talk to Marie about a little bit of that, because she mentioned just using different things on investigations. I was going to say, well, the shit we use anyways is technically not designed for paranormal.
Right.
It's been modified to being used, because a spirit box is just a radio.
Right.
But it's been tweaked with it spins faster, So just want to know her take on things when it comes to that type of stuff too.
Well, one thing that's always gotten me about the Ouija board is that, okay, there are millions, like what she was talking about, people that are possibly walking this earth passed away. Okay, you get on the Ouija board, just little old me, right here in Kansas, and I start playing around with the Ouija board, and all of a sudden I get something that's really bad. Okay, and we've all experienced that. If anybody's been on the Ouija board, probably. What my problem I have with that is, why me? Why did all of a sudden?
Because you asked for it. You're asking for it by touching it,
but that's the thing. I don't. It's like, okay, so.
But it could be
and
that
we'll
just
never
that
know.
easy.
But does he have a
easy.
phone? Oh, wait a minute, somebody's calling me. I mean, that's the part I don't understand. Or is it my brain?
It's more like the old party line, where
okay.
you pick it up, ding, 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 and no, I'm looking for so and so down the road. No, not you, Mabel. It's so and so down the road.
Yeah.
Is it a door? I mean, is it to a different dimension? Is a doorway to a different dimension? And all these entities are just sitting there waiting for somebody to open up the Ouija board to come through? Is that?
I mean, yeah.
Because here's the thing. I was on there. I was talking with a friend of mine trying to help another person out. And all of a sudden it starts spelling out. And the person I was with didn't even know who this person was, but it started spelling out Mr. Crowley. Okay. And I'm like, yeah, but it had nothing to do with the song. It had nothing. But all of a sudden, and they're looking at me like, what the? And then it just started going in this figure 8 thing really fast, faster and faster. And I kept saying, I need you to say goodbye. I need you to say goodbye. It wouldn't do it. And then finally it slowed down and went goodbye to the center. But what my part is that just I'm this one person that could be out of maybe 30,000 people that particular time could have been on a Ouija board too. Why did it come to me?
You're not one person in that moment. You're one or two people doing the same thing, so you're strengthening your energy harnessing that
Yeah.
chi. If you
But
wanna
that's
call
the
it.
part
I mean,
that has always gotten me is like, I just don't know that I.
And it doesn't matter if you're in
Yeah.
Kansas or if you're in Ireland.
Right.
Yeah.
We're all here.
Right.
So if you're requesting and asking for certain things, who's to say that there isn't somebody who's just been waiting for that moment to happen and drawn right to you?
But like Michelle said, is there just this window that says, "Oh wait, somebody's calling," and you know what? It just seems odd. to
They're
me.
all just sitting there waiting for somebody to
Yeah,
open.
yeah, like ding ding. Oh,
you're-
we got a winner.
Yeah, because
Some dipshits over here.
You're asking.
You know?
You're asking for it.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
You asked and you got it.
Because what possible way could you even filter that? Hey, I need to talk to. I'm trying to reach Susan over here. Only Susan. You over there. You stay away. Don't come over. They're like, we can't control that stuff. It's out of our hands, and that. No pun intended, but it's. I mean, it is.
That's the part that always got me is when all of a sudden some weird shit would start up, and all of a sudden you got something really bad on there, you know.
you're
And
meddling.
that's a whole nother story.
You're meddling
for
in
a show.
Take Scooby Doo. You know, these kids meddled in. You know, you're meddling in things that you may not understand.
Right.
I know it's a simple little board and a little piece of plastic, but the original Ouijas weren't that. They were made out of real
Right.
human bones and stuff like that, and the skin itself, it was like whatever, animal skin or whatever, or however they designed it. But
Interesting.
so it's
Well, I think
carries a lot of weight behind
didn't Aleister Crowley have one that was made out of human skin?
yeah, yeah,
So I mean,
Right.
yeah, that's creepy.
yeah, it is.
I found out that the Nazis had their own Ouija board.
Really?
Their own Ouija board that was set up to help conjure up where to go for something to tell them where to go for war and invading and everything like
Wow.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Mike.
Oh.
If you dial 911, somebody's gonna come visit you.
that. Yeah.
It made me
Yeah.
laugh. Sorry.
That is funny.
No, yeah, I mean, it's once again, is it really happening? Who knows? Is it mind over matter, power of persuasion? Who knows?
And I wanted to push it a few times, like, okay, this is BS, but, I didn't want to go that route with not having anybody around as well.
Because
So-
how do you defend against it? 'Cause,
Right, that's what I meant.
I mean,
yeah,
look at the one case we did where it got a little weird, and it took one of us to recognize it, and I'm like, we need to stop what we're doing for 5 minutes, and to talk about what we're crossing. Do we want to cross that threshold?
Yeah.
And technically, when I prefer to use the term spirit board over Ouija board, but
Yeah.
that's just a personal preference. But technically, when you're using a spirit board for divination purposes, if it's set up properly, it's actually not possible. At least in philosophy and in theory, it's not possible for the spirits or whoever you're talking to physically manipulate the planchette without someone touching it.
Right.
Once the hands are off, the connection's broken,
Right.
and it shouldn't move anymore. Now, if it's not set up, if it's not initiated properly, that could all change. But that goes back to kind of what we were saying a while ago. There's a right way and a wrong way, and doing it the wrong way can lead to consequences.
I mean, majority of the time, it's somebody teenage in the basement. Scare each other. That's what we can do, and then they don't know what they got themselves into.
Well, and they're already
Not-
perceived with that notion that it's scary or they shouldn't
Right.
be doing this and it's taunting them, so they're already going in with a perceived notion that this is going to be bad and this could be awful and let's do it anyway
it's going to be
because it's
scary,
risky.
and
Yeah.
that energy is. I mean, energy attracts like energy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Well, when you guys were talking about it last night with the whole empathy thing, being an empath, people, supposedly the thinking behind it is to, if I go in a room of people just bitching, complaining, and negative, grumpy, I'm going to take on that persona possibly, and not me personally, but the person is empath, whatever. But even if you're not empathic, you could still go in a room where people are
shit's
complaining.
Contagious, man.
And it's going to rub off you. I'm in a bad mood because this person was being an asshole, whether you're empath or not.
Yep.
I mean, it's like you said, bad energy attracts the same thing. I mean, yeah. So you're getting what you're asking for most of the time. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the time we go into an investigation or wherever we're doing with the notion of, hey, trying to reach Mr. Smith only, and we focus on that. But what's going on behind the scenes when this voice comes across that's not Mr. Smith, it's whoever, or, well, I mean, we saw it down in the location where Dodge City, with who we came across, what we weren't even trying to come across with, and then they popped in. It's like, is this really them? I mean, you weren't expecting that. We weren't focusing on that.
Nope.
But it came across that way.
Yep.
So it all kind of goes the same. Same way of thinking, anyways. So, oh God, it's that time, guys. I can't believe how fast this show flew.
I know, right?
Considering most of us
insane.
were running behind. And, hey, that's why we do it, because it's fun, and I can't wait to have her. Part
have
2,
her back
part 3,
on.
part 4, part 5, because we got a
Yeah.
whole slew of questions that we haven't touched the scratch the
Well, I'd
surface
like
yet.
to look and read some of her books and then.
Yeah.
We've got 20 plus books to go over now.
It's all right. We got time. We got some time. Start passing the bad boys around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Next weekend we are going to Leavenworth.
Going to Leavenworth. Tickets are also on sale for Nest City, October 20th. Tickets are on sale for Wilson, November 3rd.
Yep.
Really need to push that and get those,
Yep.
get all that sold out
I'll
and
try to get a
everything
trailer
like
out
that.
from Wilson, because we did the repackaged the original Nest City one and put it out there on Facebook, and so people can see what they're going to
absolutely.
experience possibly if they go.
Right.
So,
I liked it. It was good.
Yep. So
Yeah.
we'll do that maybe for Wilson too if I can, if I have time. Yeah, right. What's time? That's a whole different conversation. Anyway.
Right.
Winter's coming. You don't have anything to do in winter.
Yeah. When basketball season starts. So, anyway, all right. Well, guys, this was a fun show tonight. It was very entertaining and very mind-opening in a lot of ways. It was fun. I can't wait to have her back and talk some more stuff, man.
Yep.
It was
Absolutely.
fun.
Absolutely.
So, people at home, make sure you like, subscribe to this channel, this page. Tell your friends. Tell everybody. Don't just tell friends. Tell everybody. I mean, let us know. See what they're missing out by not watching this. So, definitely. And next time, call in. We had Captain Carl. You can see how easy it is. Call in with your questions or your take on things. We love talking and debating.
Absolutely.
Things. So, very cool.
All right. Thank you again for watching live with us, and don't forget to like and share and
I'm sorry, what? Do what?
Subscribe and whatever any way you can help us get the word out about our show and things we got coming up, and also want to take a moment and say thank you to Marie D. Jones, our special guest for the night. She's always awesome to talk to. For more information on her, visit www.mariedjones.com, or you can also look her up on Facebook. Just search for Marie D. Jones. And I think she's got some other cool stuff coming up and out. So, in the meantime, guys, We'll look forward to seeing you next week, and y'all have a good week, safe week, and
Absolutely.
talk to y'all later.
Yep.
See ya.
Bye, y'all.
Peace out.
Good night.